Hare Krishna. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the reading and discussion of Caitanya-caritāmṛta with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu this evening. And this is a weekly program that we've been conducting for the last 10 months. And it's been very enlivening for many people, many devotees around the world who are serious about association with bona fide disciples of Srila Prabhupada. I get a lot of questions about that. In dealing with devotees on a daily basis worldwide, and I was explaining about gold. One thing about gold, there's fool's gold and there's real gold. And our friend in Ethiopia that is working there in spreading Krishna consciousness, she's an East Indian lady, originally from India, of course, and then America, and now in Ethiopia. And she was saying that being an Indian lady, she prefers 24-karat gold. And so, similarly, in our particular situation, there's a lot of gold, imitation gold, and then there's the real gold, the golden devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is a great blessing on us to have, first of all, even started something like this, and secondly, to carry on with it with the encouragement of all of you. And we want to thank you, all of you, very much. In this time of great tribulation and difficulty, this is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And in the news today, and in the last 4 or 5 days, the news of war has spread significantly all across the world. And not only is there a war in the Ukraine, which has been going on for a few years, now we have this tragedy in Israel and the Gaza Strip, where people are being mercilessly killed by opposing enemies. And Prabhupada predicted this, that because of the sinful activities of the people in the Kali Yuga, yes, Kali Yuga, the Iron Age of quarrel and hypocrisy, because of the sinful activities from animal slaughter and other atrocious activities that bring about bad karma, then these wars will come. I was on the walk with Srila Prabhupada in I'm going to have to say 75, where he predicted that sooner or later there would be the use of nuclear weapons and people would fight due to the influence of bad karma, this bad karma civilization that's evolved. And it's quite unfortunate, very unfortunate. And our job as devotees is to simply remain fixed on the path of devotional service and to constantly maintain our sadhana bhakti as our shelter. Because after all, everyone must die. For one who is born, death is certain. For one who has died, birth is certain. And our responsibility, each one of us, is to personally grow in our own devotional practice, and somehow or other to distribute the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to those who are sincere in wanting to take up Krishna consciousness. This is the mission of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. You know, these activities that have gone on even in, and I know Jiva Goswami Prabhu is attending the class on a regular basis and has gone through some difficulty, not to get into it right now, but in his transition due to people that object to his commitment to Srila Prabhupada. I know you know, I've heard that mentioned to us, Jiva Goswami. And of course, it's unfortunate that some people just have no idea of what the meaning of Guru Tattva truly is. And Guru Tattva, the principle of Guru Tattva, I was just looking at a video that I posted on the Prabhupada Disciples Association, a video of Prabhupada speaking about disciplic succession. It's quite interesting. And Prabhupada delineates the amazing path of disciplic succession leading up to Bhaktisiddhanta and himself. So he mentions Lord Chaitanya, he mentions the six Goswamis, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gokashore Das Babaji, Bhaktisiddhanta. And in his position, he said that he is representing this disciplic succession. And it is true. And unfortunately, we've seen in the current times, so many of the so-called representatives, so many of the so-called people that are presenting themselves as guru are misrepresenting the disciplic succession and in so many atrocities. So like these motivational speakers that get on and mention nothing about Krishna, nothing about Lord Chaitanya, nothing about the Maha Mantra. And I was explaining to my god brother, Garuda Prabhu. I sent him one of the videos, and I told he mentioned it to me. It was really bewildering for him to see that. And I told him it's like sampling rice. When you see one kernel of rice, you know if the pot of rice is cooked. And when you see the sample of the way some of these people are presenting the philosophy, you understand by compromise, they're all corrupt, period. This is a great sin against the disciplic succession. And Srila Prabhupada came from India under great difficulty to present the philosophy to the Western world and then subsequently around the world, and underwent great austerities. And we're reading now from the diary. We're at the end of the diary, it's the beginnings. And it's interesting to note that today's excerpt is from an evening darshan with His Divine Grace in Tehran on August 10th, 1976. Oh, deep in the Middle East there. So Prabhupada says, no, we have no attachment. We can sit down in this nice building. We can sit down anywhere. We are not attached to this building. We are attached to push on Krishna consciousness. This is our business. And unconditionally, we can push on Krishna consciousness. Ohaitiki apratiyata. It is not that if we don't get a nice building as Atreya Rishi has supplied, then we cannot push on. No, that is not Krishna consciousness. Just like I began this movement underneath a tree in New York, Tompkins Square. What is that? Devotees Tompkins Square Park. Prabhupada, I used to sit down there. There was no mridanga. Even those recordings we hear at the end of the evening are with bongo drums. So Prabhupada was playing those. A small dundubi, and I was chanting 3 hours, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And people used to come. Navayogendra, in a very bad neighborhood, very low-class neighborhood. Prabhupada, yes, low class, high class, we don't mind. We chant Hare Krishna, that's all. That 22nd Avenue, also not very good neighborhood. Janagamya, it's the worst place in the country. Laughter. Prabhupada, but I did not know. Mukunda suggested this is a good place. All right, live here. And actually happened to be a good place. Gradually, all my disciples came. So Krishna was in control. So I had no disturbance. I was living in the Bowery Street. And on my door, these bums were lying with urine and wine bottles and everything. Still, they were so respectful. When I'll come, yes, you can enter, please. Laughter. I had no quarrel with them. They were very kind. They welcomed me. They opened the door. Please go. They also knew that he's a harmless. I've been saying he's a harmless person. Of course he was. So platform. If you remain on the spiritual platform, this material condition cannot hamper you. Ohitiki apratiyata. Then ye not ma supersidity. In that condition, you can execute. First of all, we have to ascertain on which platform we shall stand. And if you want to stand on the spiritual platform, nothing can check it. That is not conditioned. So why not stand directly to the spiritual platform and make your life successful? That is our preaching. People in general, they do not know the importance of the spiritual platform. Therefore, they prefer to stay in the material platform. They have no sufficient education. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his amazing preaching work in spreading Krishna consciousness globally, of which we are all recipients of his transcendental mercy. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Please chant along. And then we'll have the reading from the unedited version of Caitanya-caritāmṛta by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajagācārya Sattva Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Nāma-Ācārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Girivardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to their Supreme. All glories to their Supreme. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudev, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Tato jayam mudirayat, Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So welcome everyone to this reading of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As with every session, we will read a few verses from the first chapter of the Adi Lila of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, starting with text number 18 through text number 22. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya Kikariye Cheno Yatmasat, Etinera Charana Vandana Tire Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grantera Rambekari Mangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavanti Nerasmarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply my remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera smaraneyai vignavinashana, anayaseyai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text 22. Simangala charanai trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shirvada namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benediction, and offering obeisances. So again, welcome everyone. Today we will be reading from the 1974 version, the original non-adulterated version of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We are reading from chapter 1, text number 61. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Ishwara Swarup Bhaktatan Radishtan Bhakti-hridaya Krishnera Satata Vishram. Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swarupa, identical with. Bhakta, the pure devotee. Tanra, his. Adhisthana, abode. Bhaktera, of the devotee. Hridaya, in the heart. Krishnera, of Lord Krishna. Satata, always. Vishrama, the resting place. A pure devotee constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord is identical with the Lord, who is always seated in his heart.
Prabhu, is that from chapter 4? I think
I heard the book, except if I get spaced out. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, here we go. Text number 61. Sachidananda Purna Krishnera Swarup Ekechit Chaktitan Radharetina Rupa. Sachidananda, eternity, knowledge and bliss. Purna, full. Krishnera, of Lord Krishna. Swarupa, own form. Ekai, one. Chit Shakti, spiritual energy. Tanra, of him. Dhare, manifest. Tina, three. Rupa, forms. Translation. Lord Krishna's body is eternal, Sat, full of knowledge, Chit, and full of bliss, Ananda. His one spiritual energy manifests three forms. Text 62. Anandam Shiladini Sadam Shesandini Chidam Shesamvit Yarejnana Korimani. Ananda Amshe in the bliss portion, Aladini, the pleasure energy, Sat Amshe in the eternal portion, Sandini, the existence expanding energy, Chit Amshe in the cognizant portion, Sambit, the full energy of knowledge, Yare, which, Jnana-kari, as knowledge, Mani, I accept. Translation, Aladini is his aspect of bliss, Sandini of eternal existence, and Sambit of cognizance, which is also accepted as knowledge. Purport. In his thesis, Bhagavat Sandarbha, verse 102, Srila Jiva Goswami explains the potencies of the Lord as follows. Hold on. The transcendental potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he maintains his existence, is called Sandhini. The transcendental potency by which he knows himself and causes others to know him is called Sambit. The transcendental potency by which he possesses transcendental bliss and causes his devotees to have bliss is called Aladini. The total exhibition of these potencies is called Vishuddha Sattva. And this platform of spiritual variegatedness is displayed even in the material world when the Lord appears there. The pastimes and manifestations of the Lord in the material world are therefore not at all material. They belong to the pure transcendental state. Bhagavad Gita confirms that anyone who understands the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance, activities, and disappearance becomes eligible for freedom from material bondage upon quitting the present material tabernacle. He can enter the spiritual kingdom to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and reciprocate the Aladini potency in transactions between him and the Lord. In the mundane mode of goodness, there are tinges of passion and ignorance. Therefore, mundane goodness being mixed is called Mishra Sattva, but the transcendental variegatedness of Vishuddha Sattva is completely free from all mundane qualities. Vishuddha Sattva is therefore the proper atmosphere in which to experience the personality of Godhead and his transcendental pastimes. Spiritual variegatedness is eternally independent of all material conditions and is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both being absolute. The Lord and his devotees simultaneously perceive the Aladini potency directly by the power of Sambit. The material modes of nature control the conditioned souls, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never influenced by these modes, as all Vedic literatures directly and indirectly corroborate. Lord Krishna himself says in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sattvam Rajas Tamayiti Guna Jivasya Nevame. The material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are connected with the conditioned souls, but never with me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vishnu Purana confirmed this as follows. Sattvadayo nasanti she yatra na prakrita gunaha sashuddhaha sarvashuddhebhyaha pumanadya prasidatu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is beyond the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance. No material qualities exist in him. May that original person, Narayana, who is situated in a completely transcendental position, be pleased with us. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Indra praised Krishna as follows: Vishuddham tavadhama shantam apomayam dvastarajastamaskam maya mayoyam gunasam prabhahu navidyate grahananubandha. My dear Lord, your abode is Vishuddha Sattva, always undisturbed by the material qualities. And the qualities there are in transcendental loving service unto your feet. The goodness, austerity, and penance of the devotees enhance such activities, which are always free from the contamination of passion and ignorance. Material qualities cannot touch you under any circumstances. Bhagavatam 10:27-4. When not manifested, the modes of material nature are said to be in goodness. When they are externally manifested and active in producing the varieties of material existence, they are said to be in passion. And when there is a lack of activity and variegatedness, they are said to be in ignorance. In other words, the pensive mode is goodness, activity is passion, and inactivity is ignorance. Above all these mundane qualitative manifestations is Vishuddha Sattva. When it is predominated by Sandhini, it is perceivable as the existence of all that be. When predominated by Samvit, it is perceived as knowledge in transcendence. And when predominated by Aladini, it is perceived as the most confidential love of Godhead. Vishuddha Sattva, the simultaneous manifestation of these three in one, is the main feature of the kingdom of God. The absolute truth is therefore the substance of reality, eternally manifest in three energies. The manifestation of the internal energy of the Lord is the inconceivable variegatedness. The manifestation of the marginal energy is the living entity, and the manifestation of the external energy is the material cosmos. Therefore, the absolute truth includes these four principles: the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, His internal energy, His marginal energy, and His external energy. The form of the Lord and the expansions of His form as Swayam Rupa and Vaibhava Prakash are directly the enjoyers of the internal energy, which is the eternal exhibitor of the spiritual world, the most confidential of the manifestations of energy. The external manifestation, the material energy, provides the covering bodies of the conditioned living entities, from Brahma down to the insignificant ant. This covering energy is manifested under the three modes of material nature and appreciated in various ways by living entities in both the higher and lower forms of life. Each of the three divisions of the internal potency, the Sandhini, Samvit, and Aladini energies, influences one of the external potencies by which the conditioned souls are conducted. Such influence manifests the three qualitative modes of material nature, proving definitely that the living entities, the marginal potency, are eternally servitors of the Lord and are therefore controlled by either the internal or the external potency. Text 63. Alladini Sandini Samvit Tvayekar Sarvasamstitu Allada Tapakari Mishra Tvayino Gunavarjite Alladini pleasure potency, Sandini existence potency, Samvit knowledge potency, Tvayi in you, Eka one, Sarva Samstito who are the basis of all things, Allada pleasure, Tapa and misery, Kari causing, Mishra a mixture of the two, Tvayi in you, no not, Gunavarjite who are without the three modes of material nature. O Lord, you are the support of everything. The three attributes, Alladini, Sandini, and Sambit, exist in you as one spiritual energy. But the material modes which cause happiness, misery, and mixtures of the two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualities. Purport. This text is from the Vishnu Purana 1:1269. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Bandhanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadhana Strinam Danter Idam Yachik Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Durishyam Janma Janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we see in this purport given in text number 62, Srila Prabhupada goes into various details of the various energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. This is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Also, his considerable scholarship that he's able to present the teachings given by Jiva Goswami in his explanation in the Bhagavad Sandarbha about these various energies. We see in the Upanishads, it is explained in various ways. Parasya vidya jivideva shruyate jnana karma swabhaviki evacha. That the Supreme Personality of God is endowed with various energies. He's not formless, he's not energyless. The Mayavadi philosophers or impersonalist philosophers wrongly conclude that the personality of Godhead is from this world. But this is the wrong understanding. We see from the writings of the Goswamis, specifically Jiva Goswami Prabhupada, how he goes into considerable detail explaining who is Krishna, his name, his form, his qualities, his characteristics, his energies, his pastimes, and explains all of this in a very scientific way. I remember there was a very old edition of Back to Godhead magazine in 1970, where the editors had reproduced some statements from Srila Prabhupada, who had a conversation with a great Sanskrit professor, who said there is no greater philosopher in the entire world than Jiva Goswami, who in 6 sandarbhas, Shat sandarbhas, has explained the complete scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada also many times would quote from the Brahma Samhita. This book had been retrieved by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his tour of South India, particularly in Kerala. There was a temple, a Keshava temple, where Jiva Goswami retrieved the Brahma Samhita and the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, 2 very special literatures. In those days, there were no printing presses. Everything was done by manuscript, at least in India at that time. Things were being done by reproduction of manuscripts on palm leaves. They would have these long palm leaves with indelible black ink. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got the Brahma Samhita transcribed, as well as the Krishna Karnamrita. Now the Brahma Samhita, everybody here, I'm assuming everybody is reasonably familiar with that first verse. Ishvaraha Parama Krishnaha Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has an eternal body of Sachidananda Vigraha. He is the cause of all causes, and everything comes from him. In 1972, in late December, in Bombay, India, Srila Prabhupada was staying at the house of one. He was a big manager of the Mafatlal group of industries, Kartikeya Mahadevya. Very nice gentleman, and he was putting up Srila Prabhupada in his apartment near the ocean front. So many devotees had assembled there. And what happened, some followers of some big popular Indian Swami came to see Srila Prabhupada. And as part of the conversation with them, they got agitated very quickly, claiming that Krishna is formless, that Krishna is impersonal, that the word Krishna refers to a black tribe. In Sanskrit, various words have many different meanings. And Prabhupada at one point got very angry with him and started pointing his finger and says, no, Krishna is a person. He has a form. He has activities. He has different energies. Because you do not know does not mean that no one else knows. And then Prabhupada quoted Jiva Goswami, the great Goswamis, the Acharyas in our Sampradaya, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6th Goswami. He says, these great Acharyas all have concluded that Krishna is in eternal form. Krishna is not black. You have misunderstood. But the person was so unfortunate, so stubborn, he could not understand Srila Prabhupada's position. So then Prabhupada says, if you do not accept Krishna, then who is God? Who is the Supreme Brahman? Why don't you explain? And everybody looked at this person like, oh, he's going to explain. But everybody knew the person was so foolish. He had no explanation. He was just speaking nonsense. That was the power of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was powerful. We see in this text, look at this purport, the level of detail of analysis of Srila Prabhupada. What is the spiritual energy? What is his bliss, the Sandini, the Sambit potency, the Aladini potency? Everything is explained. This is the greatness of Krishna. Another time, another gentleman from another religious background or religiosity background tried to come to argue that Krishna cannot be God. And Prabhupada said, okay, so if Krishna is not God, then who is God? Can you explain? Because Srila Prabhupada's presence was very powerful. And Prabhupada challenged him. So if you do not accept our explanation of Lord Krishna, if you do not accept the Shastras about who is God, who is Krishna, why don't you explain to us who is God? Of course, they have no explanation, just foolish nonsense criticism. And this is the result in this age of being misled by various called Chala Dharma or cheating religion, Kaitava Dharma. We read in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma Prajita Kaitava. Kaitava means cheating. All Kaitava Dharma, all cheating religious systems are kicked out of the Srimad Bhagavatam. They're kicked out. Right from the beginning, we offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Now, some may protest with their own interpretations, like the Mayavadis, the Karmis, the Gyanis, various kinds of other religionists. But we see why in the Bhagavad Gita it is explained, Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam, that those who have not finished this papa life, this sinful life, it is not possible to understand Krishna. That's why first, before one can attain the stage of Vishuddha Sattva, complete transcendental unalloyed goodness, one has to at least come to the stage of goodness. And this is why Prabhupada, you look everywhere to his teachings, whenever he conducted any initiations, he made people promise that you will follow these regulative principles. Ask the candidate, what are the 4 regulative principles? How many rounds you will chant? Now, this is important, very important, because people say, well, why keep repeating the same point again and again? Like the other day, somebody asked me, why is it that Prabhupada kept repeating this point, but that you're not the body again and again? That's because we're so dull-headed, we don't understand. Previously, in the previous age, practically everyone was a Shrutidar. They would hear something once and they would remember it forever. They didn't need computers. They didn't need cell phones. They did not need tape recorders and tape machines. They would remember immediately. That is a great opulence, a great transcendental remembrance opulence. But in the age of Kali, people are so short-lived, alpa medasa, less intelligent, alpa ayusha, short duration of life, manda bhagya, very unfortunate, that people do not understand. They hear something once, you have to repeat it 100 times or 1,000 times. But if one understands this point, then his spiritual progress is guaranteed. How many times have we heard from Srila Prabhupada that if you just chant Hare Krishna offenselessly, follow these principles, you will go back to Godhead? There was a lady disciple of Srila Prabhupada named Ujjvala Devi Dasi in Los Angeles in 1970. So one time I spoke to her and I asked her, what does your name mean? And she told me when she was initiated, she asked Prabhupada, What does that name, that term Ujvala mean? And Srila Prabhupada described that this is a very highly elevated position, term of love of Godhead, very elevated stage. And in this life, if you follow these four regulative principles and chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds a day, you will achieve that platform. But yet we see that some people are not satisfied with the statements of the Acharya. They have some other ideas. They will run to this place, this neomat, that neomat. They will run to this advisor, that advisor, trying to avoid the authority and position of the Acharya Srila Prabhupada. We've seen this. People will ask so many irrelevant, nonsensical questions, trying to avoid the authority and the position of the Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Just this week, I was busy compiling a little project on the importance of Vani and the difference between Vani and Vapu. And there are so many statements of Srila Prabhupada where he clearly explains the supreme importance of Vani over Vapu, of the teaching, the instruction over the physical manifestation. Of course, one cannot neglect the Vapu of the Acharya, and we must admit that we feel very fortunate, very blessed that we had the opportunity to meet Srila Prabhupada, to become his disciple or aspiring disciple, and to try to render some service to him. And by his causeless mercy and by his kindness, he accepted the service, although we really had no qualification technically to become his disciple or anything. But he was on a mission. What was that mission? To establish Gauravani Pracharine. We repeat every day when we offer obeisances, Namaste Gauravani, that we offer respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who is preaching the message of Lord Gaura, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarine. He is preaching in the Western countries, Pashatya Desatarine, how to counteract the influence of this voidism and nihilism, Mayavadi ideas. And this is pervading everywhere. Just recently, I was speaking to a contractor, so he knows that I follow Prabhupada and Hare Krishna, and he was explaining his idea of what happens after death, which was basically a smorgasbord of sentiment, emotion, and Sahaja philosophy, Mayavadi philosophy. I was trying to be respectful to him. He was explaining how I believe that when you die, then you go into some spiritual existence. Okay, and I asked him, I says, well, what is that spiritual existence? But of course, the conversation very quickly, he could not explain. I said, well, we believe that you're going to continue to live eternally, spiritually, in a spiritual body with no suffering, no influence of birth and death, no misery, no unhappiness, eternally with God, Krishna, in his planet, when a person becomes liberated and free from the influence of this material energy. Of course, if one is so absorbed in the modes of passion and ignorance, this becomes very difficult to understand. That's why Srila Prabhupada quoted here from Bhagavad Gita, where he explained that famous verse from chapter 4, text 9, Janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tatpataha, Jatvadeham punarajanma naiti mam iti so Arjuna. Krishna explains to Arjuna, for one who understands the nature of my birth, my activities, then he does not come back to this material world. Understanding that means engaging in Krishna's service. So this is the greatest contribution of Srila Prabhupada, his transcendental books. Prabhupada one time stated, our whole movement rests upon these books. This is why this term that has been coined by Vishwakarma Prabhu, the Vani incarnation, is so important. We keep repeating that Prabhupada is available, he's directly present in the page of these non-adulterated, non-interpolated, non-adulterated books. This is very important. Some people don't get it. Some people don't understand. They will go through a whole lifetime trying to argue how their physicality is more important than Prabhupada. They don't quite grasp what Prabhupada was trying to say. They don't quite understand what His Divine Grace was doing by writing these wonderful, powerful books. We can see tonight how much knowledge there is. If you were to take a long purport like this and put a bullet point for every sentence, every quotation, every example that is given, you get so many transcendental gems. So many transcendental gems. It is almost beyond human comprehension. One time, Srila Prabhupada was discussing with George Harrison, the famous Beatle, about the Krishna book. George was appreciating the very nice transcendental pastimes of Krishna. And Prabhupada, as part of that conversation, says, Krishna wrote that book. This is Krishna's pastime. This is Krishna's direct life. And Prabhupada said, I did not write these books. I just received the information. Prabhupada was very humble, acting as a conduit. Brahmananda told me a story one time how one devotee in New York wanted to leave, and he had done some editorial work for Srila Prabhupada, and some way or other he wanted to leave for some Mayic pursuit. So Prabhupada said, no, you can stay. We can put a new book that will be coming out, The Nectar of Devotion. We can put that in your name as the author. We can do that if you want. Prabhupada was willing to put his name on the book to keep him as a devotee, to keep him involved in the mission. So Prabhupada was very merciful, very kind, and we, that is his students and his followers and his disciples or aspiring disciples, we have to use our intelligence to dive very deep into these teachings, to the utmost of our limited abilities, of our insignificant abilities, and we will get the transcendental nourishment and inspiration to go on in spiritual life. This is very important, very important. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your brilliant explanation of this particular verse. And our godbrother Balaram in Australia often comments how he listens to the Prabhupada lecture daily. And I've been fortunate enough to have that habit in the kitchen while I'm preparing prasadam. And I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada where he was extolling Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, the significance of the potency of the Hare Krishna mantra. That it is the most potent sound in creation. That it is part of the transcendental platform of Krishna's internal energy, and the name of Krishna and the form of Krishna are the same in quality and form as the Supreme Lord himself. Quite amazing. And Prabhupada gave the example of the snake charmer. He was talking about Dr. Bose and how he came and was speaking to his students about the power of the snake charmer to control the poisonous snake through mantra. And then Prabhupada went on to explain, and this poisonous snake of the mind can be controlled by the Hare Krishna mantra, by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And this mantra is given by Lord Chaitanya through disciplic succession to us from Srila Prabhupada himself. So if the mantra is properly received from the submissive student, then there will be a critical evolution of that disciple in terms of his developed consciousness in serving the spiritual master in Krishna. But the mantra must be received from the lips of the pure devotee. And so we as a group are delivering this mantra according to the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, the unadulterated teachings of the spiritual master. And in this way, the members of this association can confidently go out and deliver this mantra to other people in this chain of disciplic succession without any contamination. Just simply share the Hare Krishna mantra that Prabhupada has shared with all of us, and the people will be benefited. Prabhupada encouraged us to chant and just to listen to the sound. That was his instruction. Of course, that's not an easy thing, as we all know, because the mind just rages on with this thing and that thing. But if we simply listen to the sound during our japa class, our morning sadhana, then gradually the mind will come under control and Krishna will bless us with some transcendental understanding of this philosophy, which is not easy to achieve. Prabhupada further explained Yaśodā-nandana, which you did in this talk this evening, that if we simply follow the four regulated principles and chant Hare Krishna, we will be successful in this process. Just that. Follow the four regulated principles and chant rounds. Now, he recommended, graciously to us, knowing the way the Western world operates and our upbringing, that it would be difficult for us to chant 64 rounds a day. So he politely reduced the number down to 2 hours a day, which, based on the lifestyle and situation that we're all in, would be a comfortable way to complete this prescribed number of rounds. Like I mentioned to some of our God brothers who I've known for many years who do not chant their rounds, to chant their rounds based on their oath of allegiance, their oath of commitment to Srila Prabhupada, and they're reluctant. Or they're rationalized to say, well, you don't need to after so many years. Complete mental concoction. There is a magic, everyone, in practicing this sadhana bhakti, four regulated principles, 16 rounds. And here we have, in this group, the opportunity to attend 3 classes a week on Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Or if you can't attend because of the time frame, you can have the opportunity to attend on the Krishna Consciousness Movement YouTube channel, which is getting some coverage globally for those people who are truly serious about this process, not whimsical, not when they feel like it or they don't feel like it. I don't know if I'm going to. This is not the way you get out of this state of confusion, as Prabhupada calls, in the material tabernacle. It's not going to happen. We have to follow strictly, despite the fact that we've been criticized, myself and Yaśodā, for trying to operate a boot camp. We tell somebody, one of our God brothers, you should chant your rounds. What are you trying to do? Run a boot camp? What kind of nonsense is that? I'm not telling you to chant. You said you would chant when you took initiation, mister. To your guru, not to me. If you don't chant, that's your business. Do whatever you want. But if you want to be successful, follow some discipline. It's not a joke. Yaśodā, maybe you can continue to mention further on this subject. Microphone, please.
Hold on.
Thank you.
If somebody promises to the spiritual master that he will follow the principles and chant the Hare Krishna mantra 16 rounds per day, especially those who have been initiated, then he should follow that. There's a conversation in the Prabhupada conversation book where Srila Prabhupada discusses, well, what about a devotee who can't chant? Prabhupada says, if he has promised to chant and he doesn't chant, then what kind of person is he? He's not even a gentleman, he's an animal. The whole point of this chanting and following the principles is to raise from the mode of passion and ignorance to the mode of goodness. And as one chants, one will get a taste to chant. We had an experience in 1972 when we first went to Bangalore. Guru Kripa and myself, we caught jaundice. What happens with this illness when you're in a tropical country, your whole skin becomes yellow. And it's very, very troublesome because your whole taste becomes very perturbed, disturbed. And one of the Indian gentlemen says, well, you have to drink some sugarcane juice. We will get you some sugarcane juice. Well, guess what happens? When you try to drink that sugarcane juice, you have jaundice, it tastes very bitter. Now, a normal person who doesn't have jaundice, it's very sweet, especially fresh squeezed sugarcane juice. It's very sweet. If you do have jaundice, it's extremely bitter. And this is the same thing. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna discusses the difference between happiness in the mode of goodness and happiness in the mode of passion, that in the beginning something may be very sweet, like the mode of passion, but eventually it turns out very bitter. But a mode of goodness looks like poison in the beginning and nectar at the end. So this is the same position, because as we kept drinking the sugarcane juice, gradually the health cleared out, and we could, after several days, we could see, well, yeah, this tastes like real sweet now. So this is the same position with the chanting. If we chant and follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, then we will experience that sweetness. There is sweetness in the name of Krishna. Why? Srila Prabhupada explains this, because in the Padma Purana it is explained, Abhinatvam Nama Naminaha. There's the name and there's the person, Nama Nami. The name of Krishna is absolutely non-different than the person Krishna. Prabhupada explains in one conversation, when you chant the name of Krishna, this is Krishna coming on your tongue. That's why the Maha Mantra is so important. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we keep quoting these different parts from Srila Prabhupada's teachings about how important it is. This is described in various shastras, described by the great acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada. What is the potency of this chanting? That's why Prabhupada called it the Hare Krishna movement. Hare Krishna movement means the distribution of the name of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Very important, because if one doesn't have a taste for chanting, how is he going to distribute? Where will be the impetus, the enthusiasm to distribute? That's why the chanting is very important. And also the eating part. One has to eat foodstuff that has been offered to Krishna, not every kind of nonsense. I remember an experience when we were in Bombay in 1972, living with this Kartikeya Mahadeva's place. There was no real common kitchen for the devotees. People would get a little of prasadam but offered to Prabhupada. So Achyutananda Swami says, yes, I know a place. There was a Gujarati place where they were cooking with perfect pure vegetarian with no onions, no garlic. They were followers of Vallabhacharya. So one time we went there with several devotees, and Achyutananda says, "Oh, everybody get back." And I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going to offer the whole restaurant." he offered all the bhoga in the whole restaurant. They had pictures of Krishna. They're Vaishnavas following they're different Vaishnava sampradaya. Then he told the devotees, "Yes, now you can take prasadam. It's no longer bhoga." And the managers in the restaurant, they asked, "What was the Swami doing?" And we told him, "He was offering your whole restaurant." All the rice, the vegetable, the dokla, the sweet rice, everything, all offered. They were smiling. Because the presence of mind, somebody would think, "Oh, it's vegetarian, let's go eat it." No. His mindset was, let's offer it to Krishna first. So that's the whole idea behind offering the food. Of course, one wants to do it love and devotion, like the mindset that Achyutananda Swami had. But this is a very important point. Every day you're going to have to eat 2 or 3 times a day, or with some people, less or more, whatever the situation may be. So you have to prepare the food stuff in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Like we don't take garlic, onions, or certain foodstuffs. We don't take that. We don't take food stuff prepared by non-devotees. In a Hari Bhakti Vilas, there's a place that for a Vaishnava, especially initiated Vaishnava, to accept foodstuffs that is not properly offered and prepared is like eating dog food. That's why this will affect the consciousness. The consciousness of the person who's preparing the food will go into that food and you will be affected by it. That's why in the beginning, when Garga Muni was in Calcutta, he found a cook named Shantilal. Shantilal was a very expert cook who could cook with these little Indian coal stoves. He could cook for many people in an hour, hour and a half, like 30, 40 people, several preparation, chapatis, all kinds of things. Very expert. He was from Rajasthan. And when Prabhupada heard about it, he was very pleased because devotees didn't have to go buy food stuff outside and all kinds of things. So it's very important, preparation of food, the chanting. This is the process that Prabhupada has given us. Simply we have to follow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Before we go to Balaram in Australia, I wanted to mention, Yaśodā Prabhu, that I had an interesting experience the other day. I know Venkat Bhatta's been here and had the doll on a regular basis. So I have a friend, Rastafil from Trinidad, who's from Hollywood, who's working in Hollywood. And he's quite addicted to prasadam. He calls it the spiritual food. So the other day, I made a big pot of dal for him. And I promised him I would go to visit him. And of course, he insisted that the dal. So I made a big pot, because when I get there, Yaśodā Prabhu, he takes it very cautiously in his fridge. He doesn't just dish it out. He's taking it as a supply for 4 or 5 days. So he'll freeze it and very, very carefully maintain it so he gets it. So on Thanksgiving, what he did was and I was thinking like this actually in my mind, Yaśodā Prabhu. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to make a big pot. I know he's going to distribute it to people. So even though they're not aware of the potency of the prasadam, that it's a transcendental blessing from Lord Krishna that'll protect them at the time of death, I thought, okay, I'm going to make this soup. I'm going to make a lot of it. He's going to take it, and I just know he's going to give it out. And sure enough, the other day he says to me on the phone, he goes, "Oh, by the way, I had some people over for Thanksgiving." I go, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." And I served them soup, your soup. And so I thought, okay, it was a good, I got it going. And one of his best friends said to him, "This is the finest tasting spiced soup he's ever had in his life." So whether or not it is or not, or it isn't. The point is this, that the person was blessed by getting prasadam, either consciously or unconsciously. People are blessed if we distribute prasadam to the masses. And this should be a plan for all of us moving forward in this new age of preaching. Balaram, maybe you could share. We also have that Shama Sundar Prabhu in Australia. But Balaram, could you share your understanding of prasadam and the potency of the holy name with the group this evening?
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the wonderful discourses, Prabhus. Goloka Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. The Harinama mantra is the Maha mantra. And many people don't understand that, actually, that fact. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, it's not something that we do for a while to get to a certain platform and then we don't have to chant it anymore. As we were saying the other week when it was Srila Haridas Thakur's appearance, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he didn't stop chanting. He kept chanting. And the Harinam mantra is coming from Goloka Vrindavan. Actually, even our Gayatri mantra chanting is to help us perfect our Hare Krishna mantra chanting. The Gayatri mantra is actually meant to bring us to the perfection of purely chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So Srila Prabhupada, I was just thinking when you were, especially these purports, the amount of information is just mind-boggling. It's hard to comprehend it in our teeny conditioned way to understand what is actually to keep track of it all. And I was just thinking how Srila Prabhupada he's condensed all of the Vedic knowledge. He's brought it all down for us through all the acharyas, coming down from Krishna, the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma, down through the acharyas, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures every day. Navarasa, it becomes newer and newer taste all the time that we hear. And that's what we have to cultivate in our Krishna consciousness. It's not simply a throwaway thing. Srila Prabhupada said, don't treat it as just something else. It should become central to our life. You know, that's the whole process that Srila Prabhupada has actually given us, that mold your life around that. And we've said many times, you know, we came up in the atmosphere of the temples. Some of us, yourself, Vishwakarma Prabhu, and I had a help in starting temples down here in Australia. And we had some wonderful times, Sankirtan, so many different experiences. But it was almost in a bit of a past life, we might say. So many things have changed. But we still have to keep that atmosphere. We have to create that atmosphere ourselves. And we can see so many wonderful devotees that are attending these classes. They're actually constructing their lives in that way. And by following Prabhupada's instructions, we can come to understand and purify the senses. Is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ata Shri Krishna Namade, Nabhaved Grayamindrai, Sevanmukhi Hijivado, Swayameva Sparatyada. It's impossible to understand the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord Krishna with these contaminated material senses. Only by purifying the senses, by becoming completely saturated in the process of loving service to the Lord, as taught by the spiritual master, can we start to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna. And even the Mayavad and the impersonalists, they might go to the Sat or to the Chit. They might understand the existence aspect of the Lord's energies. They might understand the Chit potency or the knowledge, but they do not understand Ananda, Hladini. This has been explained in the purports. They do not understand the Hladini potency, and that is the bliss. Prabhupada said that's why the Mayavad, they are very strict, so many austerities. They may attain the Brahman platform, but they fall back down again because they have not experienced the bliss. What is the Anandamaya Abhyasat? The Lord is Krishna wants pleasure. He's pleasure seeking. He wants pleasure. And that pleasure, it was described last week, that pleasure is in relationship to his disciples, to his parts and parcels. And that's the complete picture. So Srila Prabhupada has given us that highest bliss, the highest perfection to strive to. And if we follow those principles, as Prabhupada says, you just gave example, that can happen in this lifetime. We don't have to wait for another lifetime. This human form of life, it's like, I was thinking the other day, this is like an escape hatch. This human form of life, the human body is an escape hatch. We were hearing just some weeks ago, there was a Russian submarine that went down and all the men were trapped in it. I think there was 50, 100 men were trapped. And we didn't hear much more about it, of course, because it was Russia. But there was no escape hatch for them. They could not get out of it. So this human form of life is actually the escape hatch. And Srila Prabhupada is actually opening up the lid for allowing us to come to that platform where we can actually attain to the transcendental platform. So he's given us everything. And just like you read in the diary, I think there was, just from memory, Prabhupada, when he was speaking, he said, one has to decide which platform they want to stand on, the spiritual platform or the material platform. And that was in the first reading that you did, Vishwakarma Prabhu. One has to decide to stand on the spiritual platform or the material platform. So the choice is there. Srila Prabhupada has distributed the mercy, and it's up to us to take that and use it properly and distribute it. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Hare Krishna Prabhu. So glories to Prabhupada.
Haribo, thank you very much. And I see on our guest list this evening, Narasringa Prabhu in California. He's in Northern California, up from you, Yaśodā, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
near the border of Oregon.
Okay.
There's a Varnashram project there.
So, Prabhu, Narasringa, can you share your realizations on the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna and the distribution of prasadam for our audience this evening? Let's hope his microphone is available. We're coming to the end of the program. Narasringa Prabhu. Maybe his mic won't work. Okay, so it's 9:26 in the evening here in Eastern Canada. And I had a message from Bhakta Ramachandra Singh, Ram Singh, as Yaśodā calls him now, Bhakta Ram. And it's a good name, Yaśodā. And he wanted me to mention, or maybe Ron, you could mention yourself about your upcoming program with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu on November 12th, the Govardhan Puja Festival being held in Sacramento. Ron Singh.
Yes, I would like Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu to speak on that.
Okay, I'll appreciate the redirection here. Basically, what's happening is that Bhakta Ram is organizing the program in Sacramento, and we'll be going from Twain Hard, California over there. It's about 2 to 2.5 hours driving here. And we are going to celebrate. We're going to bring the Govardhan Shilas here. We have 2 Govardhan Shilas.
Oh.
One of which was personally given to me by Srila Prabhupada in 1976. It's a little Shila. Dwarkadish Prabhu, the famous Gurukul student, knows this. There was a student in the Gurukul at the time who went to Govardhan Hill with his mother. And he brought, somewhere or other, they got a little Govardhan Shila, and he was playing with it like a little toy, and the Gurukul teachers took it away from him. They brought it to me, and I took it to Prabhupada, and I asked him, what should we do with this? And Prabhupada looked at it from different angle, and he gave it back and said, you can worship it. And I said, oh, does that mean I can do the 16 different kind of articles? But no, it's not like that. I said, you take a little cloth, you clean it, and then you offer some water, some fruit, a lamp, and then something. Very simple. It should not take very long. So I've been worshiping this Govardhan Shila since 1976, since it was personally given to me by Srila Prabhupada. In 1993, I went to Govardhan Hill with Guru Kripa Swami, and he bows down and he grabs a Govardhan Shila. He says, here, Yasoda, this is for you. I was like, whoa. And it's a pretty good sized Govardhan Shila, the size like a fairly large Govardhan Shila. Some of you may have seen pictures of it. So I've been worshiping that one since 1993. So for this program, we will bring the Govardhan Shilas. We'll have a nice abhishek. We'll build a little anakut, a little hill, either made of rice or halva, decorated, and that's just like they do in Vrindavan. And it should be pointed out that Bhaktaram's mother, who's also from Fiji, obviously where he's from, she's an excellent cook. Last time we were there, she cooked very nice prasad for the deities and everything. So, and we expect some other devotees to come. And I believe that many people will be celebrating Deepavali or Diwali around that weekend, if I'm correct, Bhaktaram. So we'll look forward to a very nice program. And he's arranging so we can go on Samkirtan, public Samkirtan, either to some local temple around the street somewhere. He's handling that. And I know that Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, Bhaktaram, and some other people here are trying to get a poster together advertising the program. So that should be very, very nice. We really look forward to it. And because the winter is going to come, and sometimes in the winter, it's a little troublesome to travel in the mountains here. Like last year, at one point, we had 4 or 5 feet of snow for a few weeks here at where we live. So we'll see how the winter and all the material energy is treating everything this year. Hare Krishna.
Excellent. Yes, this is the work of the Prabhupada Disciples Association to distribute prasadam worldwide. And very interesting, your story, Yasoda, because I remember when I was in, and Balaram, you probably remember as well, when we went to Vrindavan, and then we go on parikram, and we thought, oh, we'll pick up a Shila, a stone from the mountain. And then we were admonished, you cannot take these stones from Govardhan Hill. And so I left mine there. I, understood the seriousness. But Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is very blessed with, obviously by Prabhupada's grace personally, to have this Govardhan Shila with him. Two of them, and it's a great story, Yasoda, that you're telling us, and very exciting for you to work with Bhakta Ram in Sacramento to put on these programs and make new devotees. That's the idea. We want to spread Krishna consciousness to other people. Balaram, you've got your hand raised. Please.
Yes, Prabhu, read the salagram. Our dear godbrother and very close friend, Ugrashrava Prabhu here in Australia, very close friend of Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, traveled with him extensively in South India. He has several salagram shilas from Srila Prabhupada.
Oh.
And he's got a beautiful altar at his home. Up in the top floor of his home, and very lovely worship. And I've witnessed the amazing changes in the shalagrams. They're changing form. Most very, very special. So I just thought I'd, very nice worship that he's performing with the shalagram there. That was from Srila Prabhupada.
Excellent. So the mercy of the spiritual master is with all of us, and especially for the devotees that are strictly following the process of bhakti yoga. It's a discipline, just like the martial artist. You have a very famous martial artist in Australia, Balaram, Andrew well, I don't know his name, but very famous. He's like a champion. And he achieves that by strict discipline. You don't become great at anything unless you follow the discipline of the process. So this is what we're encouraging all of us to do, is carry on chanting your rounds, following the 4 regulated principles, constantly hearing the philosophy from Srila Prabhupada, and chant along with his japa tapes. And at the same time, attend these classes and encourage other people to come to these classes and get the nectar of the association of the members of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, the bona fide disciples. Venkat Bhatta, our friend from India visiting Ontario, could you please put on the closing kirtan for us to all chant along to the Hare Krishna mantra with Srila Prabhupada.
Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just posted on the chat a quotation from a reading by Srila Prabhupada. It's a verse that's quoted in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya Lila 17:133, where Prabhupada explains how the name Krishna is non-different than Lord Krishna. It's actually a quotation from Padma Purana given by Srila Prabhupada. Very nice. You can look at it. It's towards the end of the chat, just before the Vanchakalpatarubhyascha by Bhakta Rupesh. Very interesting quote from His Divine Grace. And I see that we have some very interesting participants. Dwaipayana Prabhu in Australia. Hare Krishna, Hare